All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets for the Sunday night showdown between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. And guys, we are getting some good prop bets for this game. I'm excited to break it down. And so real quickly, I'm going to start out with the game preview here, pulling up the injury report. We do need to get news on Joe Mixon. If he sits, which I don't think he will, but if he sits, then we're looking at Chris Evans probably being the RB2 there because Chase Brown is on the IR. That's really the biggest news that we are waiting for the Bengals. For the Bills, we already have most of the news that we need, and that's going to be that Dawson Knox is out and that Damian Harris is out. Now, the Bills did acquire Leonard Fournette for this game. I don't think we need to worry about that. I think we're going to be seeing James Cook and also Latavius Murray and probably around the same snap share that they had last game. But the Dawson Knox news is still a pretty good talking point. And so let's talk about both of those situations real quick. And so looking at it right now, last week we saw Dalton Kincaid get 83% of the snaps, and that's twofold, guys. One, Dawson Knox was out. Okay, that's great. And we saw him operate as more of the traditional tight end. The second part of that, though, was Quinton Morris was out. Okay, he is going to be back, and I do think he's going to spell Dalton Kincaid. So I don't think we can expect 80% of the snaps, maybe closer to 75, which was kind of what we were seeing with Dawson Knox. I think that's what we should expect there. But I love Khalil Shakir here. I personally think I've had a lot of freaking awesome calls this year, guys. Okay, self pat on the back there. Apologies. But last week with Khalil Shakir to be on that in that capacity, where I felt like I hyped him up enough. He played in 66% of the snaps, slotted into more of the Dalton Kincaid role, whereas Kincaid went into more of the Dawson Knox traditional tight end role. I think we're going to see that again. Okay, now if we don't, I think we're going to look back and see, okay, it was because Quinton Morris was in there. They used him more of a blocker, and Kincaid kind of split out a little bit more. That could occur, don't get me wrong, but I don't think we're going to see that, especially with how good Shakir looked. Now, before we get into the NFL props, I want to touch on some NHL props. We have three really good ones that we could go ahead and pair with any of those NFL bets, assuming that they are still there. Now, someone in the comment section of the previous video was asking about this, so I want to make it kind of clear. I added in this kind of prop line, PrizePicks - Sportsbooks slider. Okay, and this is just going to be the prop line difference between the two. And why this is important is because a situation like this, where the average sportsbook line is heavily favoring the under at 2.5 shots on goal, or sorry, they're heavily favoring the over 2.5 shots on goal. So both Underdog and PrizePicks has bumped it up. Makes sense. These props like this are being valued as a push. And so that's why we don't really want to waste our time doing that. So that's why I added in this kind of slider. It's going to be defaulted to this to show us the bets that are even, and that way we're good to go. And then another quick update I want to call out is that I have went ahead and added in props like rushing attempts, pass completions, and pass attempts, as well as INTs. I was able to do this all without having to raise the cost, which to me, the more I can give you guys in terms of like props and just tools in general, it always gets me excited. So I'm excited to get that out to you guys. Another little self pat on the back, but it makes me happy when I can do stuff like that. And obviously we should be gaining a bigger edge. And just for what it's worth, like last week, all the really good tackles and assist props that we had went 5 for 6. That's something I was tracking last week. Not a big sample size, but we look at this week as well. We go to the Chiefs, and we're going to see that Trent McDuffie was one that we liked for over 7, or the data liked for over 7 tackles and assists. He is currently at 10. So we are seemingly getting a pretty big edge there. And just while we're there, guys, I talked up Justin Watson as a good prop, as well as MVS. He already got his over. Okay, we're good there. It's seeming that Isaiah Pacheco is going to get less than his fantasy score, which was another good prop at the end of the day. Tua is very close to getting his over fantasy score. They need to get the ball back. They do. And then also, we need Mostert to get a freaking catch. Oh, no, he's over. He's over his fantasy score. So a pretty darn good day for those props for the early slate. But Watson getting 5 targets and only 15 yards is so tilting because the 17.5 for his over receiving yards was one of the better prop bets we had. All right, that's neither here nor there. Let's get into today's. And so today's slate, we are going to see Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are going to be 2 of the better slips. So if you guys want to pair those up with those hockey props that are also good EV bets, I think that's a strong move. I think we can go ahead and do that. I'm fine with that. And so with this being a high scoring game as well, like, yeah, there's probably going to be a lot more tackles available for DBs like that. And so I don't mind that. And then one that I'm not sure I actually like, and I can see why the data is suggesting it, is going to be James Cook for under 11.5 for a fantasy score. Now, we should point out here that the Underdog line adjusted for PrizePicks scoring would be set at 12. So they kind of like the over there. And the projection data also likes the over there. But the average sportsbook line is pretty much putting it at 10.8. And they're pretty much by that line, they're saying he's not going to score a touchdown. And I think that this line is going to be very much scoring dependent. Now, yes, James Cook did play a lot of snaps in the last game. I do expect him to play a lot of snaps in this game. The issue that we have with him is that he's not very much touchdown dependent, and he hasn't been used in the passing game as much as we would like. And so with that, I'm kind of just probably going to fade this one. If you guys think he is going to struggle tonight, by all means, bet the under 11.5. It is a little bit more of a difficult matchup going against that Bengals defense, but it is a high scoring game. Okay. And maybe during a drive, it's Latavius Murray finally getting them down to the goal line. And then Murray has to come out and James Cook gets a touchdown. Like that could happen. One prop that I don't want to touch is actually going to be Joe Burrow for under rush yards. And for two reasons. One, I don't like those props in general. But number two is the fact that we saw Joe Burrow really have his best game of the season last year, which was him coming in off of a bye week. And I think the bye week is kind of a crucial point there, is that he finally looked like Joe Burrow. It felt like Joe Burrow was back. And part of the reason as to why I felt like that is because he was rushing the football a lot. That is part of what makes him a good quarterback, is his ability to rush the football. The fact that the defenses have to respect that. And so to me, that is just another prop bet I want to stay away from. And now we're going to get into two prop bets that I really like. Dalton Kincaid for over 9.5 for a fantasy score. This has since went up, I think, from 9 earlier in the week. And the reason I like this is, although I think he might see a little bit of a reduced snap share, slight, I still think he's going to be heavily involved in the game. Still think he's still going to get a lot of targets. And if he scores a touchdown, obviously that's going to be huge. I don't think we can bank on that, but I think he's still going to be able to get there. 5 receptions, 56 yards, and we're good to go. Another one that I like is going to be Khalil Shakir for over 2.5 receptions. I don't think what happened last week was a fluke. I don't think what happened against New England was a fluke. To me, watching that, I was like, it made sense what was happening, him getting more involved. He looked good doing it. And so last week, it was very much a confirmation for me that, all right, I think we're going to be good to use Shakir for the rest of the season. And at 2.5 receptions, that seems too low to me. And this is probably a bad take. I think he's better than Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is more one-dimensional, whereas Khalil Shakir is more of a guy that can get open, more of a guy that can kind of do it all. Now, Gabe Davis is very good at what he does. I'm not down talking him, but in terms of reception prop at 2.5, I feel pretty good about that. So we are seeing, guys, we get 4 really good Buffalo Bills props, like especially EV-wise. Now, we do see Joe Burrow at 19 for a fantasy score is a good one. And so we already are seeing like 5 bets that we could potentially use. Which one do we want to use him with? Joe Burrow, that is. And there's that completions prop right there. Probably T. Higgins for over fantasy score. And so the reason being, the average sportsbook line would have this line set at 12.6. The projection data likes him for 14. And if we use the adjusted calculation for underdog, they would have the line set at 12. So at 11.5 for the PrizePicks line, that is seemingly a very good value for us. Tack on the fact that we already seen Joe Burrow for over fantasy score is a good prop bet. I feel like we are going to see T. Higgins not only play better because he's going to be more healthy, but because Joe Burrow's more healthy. And to me, those correlate pretty well. And I like the fact that our thoughts for the game are matching up with how Vegas sees it, and in terms of like how high scoring it's going to be. And then the prop bets that we were getting are also correlated to that. Like this should be a pretty awesome slate. And so I know other people are going to want some other prop bets. Let's just scroll through it for the ones that you can roll with if you want to. I don't know if we really want to be touching any of these other ones. Now, I will say like Tyler Boyd at 4 receptions. If this drops to 3.5, I'd be fine with it. At 4, I do think it's going to be a push, but I don't think we need to even like go that far because we already have 6 bets that we feel pretty good about. And the reason I say that is because prior to last week, he had been someone that was getting targeted so heavily in this offense. Now, that's partially due to T. Higgins, but also he's been solid. He's been a solid producer. So I would like it at 4 as a push, but we already have 6 good bets. So let's show you guys the bet of the day. And so here's the bet of the day, guys. So most of the time with these individual games, we are really trying to game script and make slips that correlate based off how the game's projected to go and whatnot. It's very much, we are typically ending up on less favorable prop bets, like bets that would be better on the sports books where, you have a better payout for the percent likelihood of them. With PrizePicks and Underdog, they can't adjust their payout structure, or they don't. I mean, there's some slips that they do that for, like PGA and whatnot, if you load up on them. But all in all, the payout structure is very clear. And so when we get these really good EV bets that we currently have, that's the advantage. And typically speaking, for those single game slates, we don't have that. This week we do. So I'm pretty excited about this. The last time we had a slate like this, I think the slip went 4 for 6. So pretty decent. And, we'll see. But we got the 2 really good EV bets for the Bills for tackles and assists. I feel good about that. And then Dalton Kincaid for over fantasy score, we saw being undervalued compared to everywhere else. And then Khalil Shakir for over 2.5 assists. We saw that this one does have about a 53.5. You could round up to 54% chance to hit. And then these ones not as likely to hit, but I like the fact that they correlate. Like, yes, if T. Higgins gets 11.5 for a fantasy score, you would expect that Joe Burrow would be more likely to get 19 for a fantasy score, and vice versa. So those are 2 really good ones there as well. That is going to be all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the coverage. If you did, make sure to give a like and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of those good EV bets like I started out with this video. If you guys want to use those hockey bets in there, by all means, go for it. If you guys want to join 9to5sports.com, you can get access to these tools, the Underdog and PrizePicks tools available for just $10 a month. Let's have a good slate tonight. And as always, let's keep cashing.